Okay, so late to the party again by a few weeks. Cheers. Completely normal for my recording and release schedule. It's recently come to my attention that Hasbro might actually be doing something right for once. Real, actual, physical books. All of this was announced at Gen Con, by the way, so no, I didn't go to Gen Con. Who can afford that bullshit? Besides, I've got the internet. I get all the news as soon as they say it either way. Same as most of you out there. Specifically, they're promising books for D&D by the end of 2027 that could potentially actually be worth buying. I have this idea in my head that some of the shareholders might have gotten a hold of Chris Cox and tried to slap the stupid out of him for a few hours until he realized you actually have to have decent quality product on the market that your audience, your target market, is willing to spend their money on if you want your company to make money. Of course, there's a huge split in people's reaction to these announcements. There's a few YouTubers claiming everything's turning around and WOTC is finally going in the right direction. And there's just as many channels claiming it's the end of the world is terrible and the whole D&D thing is going to end. You know, just like they said about every other time that Hasbro and WOTC have made an announcement or had a leaked document. But you know, some of us out here in internet land are hesitantly looking forward to the releases, new publications, but we're withholding judgment until we see the final result. Remember, it's still entirely possible for Hasbro to disappoint us all again, as has been their habit of recent years, if these books are of similar quality to their current management. There is, however, hope when one considers who they've got working on some of these books, as well as the fact that they're outsourcing licensing through licensing deals to some degree rather than trying to do it all in-house. Now, if you look at the current state of their house, which is a festering, disease-ridden hole unfit for human habitation, outsourcing is a good idea. The reason they've got all our attention, as stated, is what they're promising and who they've got working on it. First off is a 5.5 version of Dark Sun. This might actually be the first adults-only content to come out of Hasbro. No, I haven't checked to see if they own a stake in a porn production or a marital aid manufacturing company, so, like I said, it might be the first. Doing Dark Sun as an adult genre setting is likely the only way it could ever get published in the current culture, due to that setting's prevalent themes of cannibalism, torture, and slavery. However, previous editions of Dark Sun have enough popularity and there's still enough interest in the setting that this could make them a lot of money if they do it right. And it will definitely bring them some much-needed goodwill with their fan base, their market, their target demographic. As long as they don't shit the bed on it, which, who knows. Next up, they mentioned Dragonlance, and they've managed to get Hickman and Weiss, the original authors, to come back and work on it for them for 5.5e. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of Dragonlance. It's a little too high fantasy, high stakes for me. I don't want to rescue a demigod princess to save the world. I don't even want to save the kingdom. You know, I want to rescue the harvest and save the peasants. But a lot of people like Dragonlance. It's a very popular setting. There's a huge amount of lore attached to it, and it's a fully fleshed out world where tons of great stories and adventures could take place. If Hasbro does it right, this could be another great moneymaker for them. My main suggestion is might be showing my personal bias here, but somebody should clog up all the toilets in the building and lock Chris Cox in the bathroom with a plunger until everything's already published and he can't fuck it up anymore. You know, maybe we'll have some luck. Maybe he'll find his true calling in life, put on a blue shirt with a name tag on it, and buy a mop. All right. Back to serious speculation. This whole initiative with some of these books is what they're calling DnD icons. And they've got Joe Manganiello, I want to make sure I pronounce his name properly, running it, or at least being the face for it. That's where they're putting Dragonlance through with the original authors. They've also got Luke Gygax, Gary Gygax's son, putting together new books for the Greyhawk setting, and they've got R.A. Salvatore, who wrote Dris de Urden, working on some Forgotten Realms content. Most likely updating Drow of the Underdark. Joe Manganiello himself is releasing a new setting called Death Saves, which he developed with Mike Merles, who was one of the lead designer. He was the lead designer for 5e, as far as systems. It's described as a super grimdark, all the gods are dead, let's go fight demons sort of thing. So, exactly what it says on the label. Remember, they're promising these as real-life physical books, so far as I'm aware. But, of course, they're going to be selling them on D&D Beyond as well, so anyone who's inclined can pay full price and have nothing in their hand to show for it. With the whole icons thing, some of you are probably wondering why they don't have Ed Greenwood writing more Forgotten Realms for them. Some reports say that he is involved, but only some, and nobody from Hasbro has verified it, as far as I've seen. That, it's entirely possible he's not involved, and there's a few likely reasons to support that assumption. First off, the default campaign setting for the main world for 5e and 5.5 is Forgotten Realms, so Ed Greenwood is most likely getting at least some kind of residuals or royalties from Hasbro for the use of his characters and his world. It's possible Hasbro doesn't want to spend any more money on him. It's also possible they asked him and he said no. Maybe he said, go outside and play hide and go fuck yourself. But that would be entirely speculation. And it's been 38 or 39 years since I've heard a single unkind word from that man's mouth. And he had a damn good reason to say something that time. The rest of this announcement about books was... where am I on this page? Yeah, the rest of the announcement about books was the licensing and outsourcing parts. They've divided up the different settings and are planning to publish a bunch of new campaigns, new material for each setting annually. They have Kobold Press here in Canada dealing with Forgotten Realms. Visionary Production and Design is doing Eberron with Keith Baker, who originally created Eberron. And Ghostfire Gaming is doing Ravenloft. After all that, they said they're doing Unearthed Arcana books again. Or at least, very least, they're doing one Unearthed Arcana book and one campaign to go with it. Another upside to this kind of outsourcing is that independent publishers know the market well enough to realize that physical books are a necessary part of the equation, so you'll be able to buy these ones at your local game stores too, instead of just having them online, ordering the physical copy online, or only getting the digital copy and having it limited to D&D Beyond, where you can't download a PDF or potentially print it out without a lot of tedious effort. Other than however many licensed video games and updates to D&D Beyond, they made one decision that might shoot them in the ass. I'm not saying it will. Close that. I'm not saying it will. But there's a 50-50 chance, depending entirely on the quality of the material, the quality of the books they put out. They're doing the same universes beyond horse shit that they tried with Magic the Gathering. So, pumping out licensed IP stuff. Now, if they're smart, which is debatable, but they seem to be starting in this vein, they'll do it slow, at 1, maybe 2 a year. And they'll be really, really picky about what they put out, what they attach their licensing to. You know, they should be taking suggestions and polls from their target market. If they're stupid, they'll spunk it up the wall at any company who throws money at them for the IP crossover. Here's hoping, but they've only announced 2 so far for release by the end of 2027. The first one is World of Warcraft. That might be a good idea. I mean, it sounds like a reasonable mix. It basically just applied 5.5 mechanics to World of Warcraft magic species and settings, so you can run it tabletop instead of running it through a computer. That is, however, dependent on them releasing a physical copy. They didn't specify anywhere in the announcement whether or not Universes Beyond will be available as an actual book. It's entirely possible they're going to shoot themselves in the dick with this one and release it only digital for D&D Beyond. Knowing WOTC and Hasbro's track record, I'm expecting the worst. I think the other IP they announced is more likely to fall on its face than anything else. Star Wars. An official D&D Star Wars. Now I can see Lucasfilm being a little desperate at this point, and you know, their IP's been on life support ever since Kathleen Kennedy has been in charge. They might have tossed a little bit of money at Hasbro and got on their knees to do some deep, open-mouthed begging in hopes that the book might actually sell. I don't think it'll happen. Long Ago in a Galaxy Far, Far Away is too little, too late, and oversaturated in the market to be taken seriously, even if it's a really great book. And besides that, Spaceballs 2 has been announced already, so my sci-fi money will be going there instead. In conclusion, on the off chance that Hasbro finally made the genius decision to hand control of WOTC to people who actually understand their target demographic and know what to market to them and how to market it, there's a chance things could improve in the next year or 2. Unfortunately, we've all been burned enough times to expect the worst and not even be surprised when it's worse than we thought it would be. Anyway, I upload every Sunday. Sometimes I post a video on Wednesday as well. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. The more you interact with video, the more people will get to see this stuff. All right? Talk to you next time.